He addressed me as darling right in the middle of that crowded conference hall, surrounded by nearly 4 dozen high-ranking personnel. The chuckles echoed off the walls because they viewed me as mere eye candy, the type of female who remained mute during discussions of serious combat strategies. I offered a single, measured grin, instantly identifying the tone. It belonged to the sibling of the trooper who perished while uttering my identifier. As the commanding officer inquired about my operational alias, I decided it was time to disclose it. The instant Reaper Zero left my lips, the chamber plunged into absolute hush, reminiscent of the tempest I navigated long ago, now returning to settle old scores. I am Harriet Vaughn, and in that split second, history refused to stay buried. The chill of Anchorage's cold season blanketed everything in a profound stillness, so intense you could sense your heartbeat pounding in your ears. Overhead, the heavens loomed heavy and slate-colored, weighing down on the icy runway visible from my quarters. Each dawn, I cleared the icy buildup from the visor of my gear on the countertop, a habitual act, as though maintaining its shine might preserve the recollections from dimming. To me, tranquility had always felt more like a trap than solace. During battles, it signaled that a comrade wouldn't return. Once the assignments wrapped up, the emptiness settled in permanently. My spouse departed prior to the initial melt, his footsteps etching clear marks in the frost. He claimed he couldn't compete with my passion for the heights. He wasn't wrong. The atmosphere held my heart more firmly than solid earth ever could. The separation documents lingered on the counter until the writing solidified in the freeze. My mom continued sending handwritten notes in her elegant curls, arriving monthly without fail. Her most recent one stated, "You're masterful in the clouds, but you've lost the skill of connecting on the ground." I creased it neatly and placed it next to my dad's Sterling band, which still carried faint hints of lubricant and aviation gasoline from the days he instructed me that accuracy represented true honor. One evening, as gusts battered the panes, my device chimed with an alert from headquarters, glowing ominously like a caution signal. It was an offer for the Elite Forces Collaborative Exercise Initiative at the Naval Facility in Southern California. I gazed at it endlessly. I'd vowed to steer clear forever, yet the void was eroding me quicker than any gale. I traveled with minimal belongings. The heirloom slipped into my aviator coat's compartment. Prior to takeoff, I reviewed the leadership lineup. One entry halted my respiration. Fleet Leader Kalen Hayes. That designation had appeared in the summary of an engagement that concluded with his kin's demise. The breeze outside roared past the storage entrance, frigid enough to pierce alloy. They claim duration mends wounds, but up north, nothing truly defrosts. Not even the deepest regrets. I was in my early 30s during that fateful evening when the squall above the strait engulfed reality. The tracking system failed completely. Winds exceeded 120 knots. The control center's transmission buzzed amid interference, commanding a retreat. Delaying for favorable conditions would mean retrieving only casualties, I countered, pushing the controls ahead. Officer Ramirez was the sole volunteer bold enough to buckle up alongside. Regulations deemed such ventures fatal. But those guidelines hadn't encountered my resolve. We skimmed so near the surface that the landing gear almost grazed the frozen expanse, navigating solely via lunar glow on the drifts, since that alone proved reliable. Enemy projectiles lit up the blackness. A bullet struck Ramirez's position, another severed critical lines. I clamped the yoke with my thighs, limbs protesting in agony, soles pressed firm on the controls. Moments afterward, amid the swirling haze, figures emerged. Personnel signaling from a snowy depression, the elite squad we'd targeted for extraction. I set down the craft sans gauges or navigation aids, blades carving through the chaos. As the entryway parted, blasts invaded the interior. A figure lurched ahead, features marred by crimson and frostbite. "You made it," he croaked. "Without question," I replied. His identity, revealed subsequently, was squad leader Michael Hayes. We extracted the entire group intact. En route back, a power unit detonated. We touched down on the remaining one. The installation's beacons were mere yards distant, proximate enough to detect the propellant aroma. I believed that wrapped it up. A quarter-year on, news arrived. Michael Hayes had fallen. A separate incident. Another whirlwind, this under his relative's oversight. The documentation referenced my effort under a covert title, Venture Frost Barrier. Operator, Reaper Zero. When I questioned the moniker, my overseer explained, "Since you pierced the inferno and emerged bearing the fallen." It clung to me thereafter, the rescuer and the accused. Whenever Reaper Zero was murmured, an inner part of me recoiled. Endurance, I'd come to realize, doesn't invariably taste like triumph. Southern California's shores contrasted sharply with the northern wilds. Sunbeams pierced the ocean like crystal shards, the atmosphere dense with brine and assurance. Etched on the elite compound's barrier, courage alone ensures survival. I smirked, blending wry humor with lingering sorrow. I'd endured, though valor played a minor role. Fleet leader Kalen Hayes strode into the strategy session with a presence that commanded deference from all. Upon introduction, "This is Senior Aviator Vaughn," he noted briskly. "She'll provide guidance on aerial assistance." He pivoted away, as if my existence had already slipped his mind. In the inaugural group meeting, he quipped from afar, "Perhaps our female flyer can cover the instability segment. She likely grasps it superior to us." Snickers cascaded through the assembly. I jotted a brief reminder, "Maintain composure, bide time." Subsequently, near the aircraft shelter, a novice staffer neared. "They intend no offense, madam," she murmured. "It's standard here." I regarded her, Junior Officer Aria Thompson, full of potential and uncertainty. "That's precisely how offense takes root," I responded. She averted her gaze, chagrined, and I glimpsed my former self in her reticence. That night, examining preparation dossiers, I halted abruptly. An entry. Vanguard Group 7. The identical detachment I'd liberated from the glacier. The following afternoon, in the relaxation area, Kalen spun a tale as humor. A flyer botched an op in the Arctic so thoroughly, the specialists had to excavate their own escape. The crowd erupted in mirth. I withdrew discreetly, concealing my expression. He remained unaware the target of his jest stood mere steps behind. Not for long. At twilight, I lingered on the dock, observing surges crash against vessels. The climate was milder, yet the bite felt keener. Certain tempests assault your vessel, others tarnish your legacy. The start of the week, precisely at dawn. The planning chamber gleamed with transparent panels, metallic fixtures, and overconfidence. I addressed over 40 commanders, documents in grasp, detailing airborne synchronization when Fleet Leader Kalen Hayes interrupted. "Hold on a second, honey. Share your designation code?" Guffaws spread rapidly. I held their stares unwavering. Reaper 0. The space solidified. The display unit powered down. An item clattered to the floor. The quiet devoured the amusement entirely. Kalen's complexion drained of color. "You requested the code, leader?" I remarked. "Consider it delivered." Overseer Tate shattered the void. "Sir, she's the operator from Frost Barrier." I supplemented evenly. "That ought to validate my expertise on volatility." The gathering concluded amid oppressive muteness. By midday, murmurs permeated the installation. "That's the Reaper. She preserved an entire squad, and he ridiculed her." Later, Kalen's assistant conveyed a directive. "Appear before the leader at first light tomorrow." As I departed, Aria Thompson hurried over. "Madam, I reviewed the Frost Barrier records. It's linked to him. He forfeited his kin that period. He didn't resent the Reaper for lethality. He despised the label for evoking who the gale spared. His workspace carried scents of ocean spray and polish. "Impressive display earlier," he commented. "It was no performance, Just a reply. He reclined. My kin perished due to an operator lacking your fortune. I locked gazes. Cease penalizing the survivors for enduring. That day, I scrutinized incident logs. His endorsement appeared repeatedly. Aviator sought cancellation. Rejected. My core twisted. His relative's passing stemmed from his own directive. Ramirez phoned from the north. Michael Hayes invoked your name prior to losing consciousness. You formed his final utterance. That dusk, Arya located me. The group is split, madam. Some admire you. Others resist. Excellent. Encourage discourse. Are you furious? Rage demands energy. Mine runs on frostier reserves. Before departing, she confided, Gossip claims he attempted to relocate your dossier. He can't conceal a whirlwind, I stated. It's already unleashed. Shortly after, a notification appeared. You erred in voicing Reaper Zero. Certain specters dislike summons. The lunar glow captured my silhouette. The disturbance hadn't subsided. It had merely transformed. The compound slumbered beneath a light mist, illuminations twinkling on damp pavement. I occupied the archives chamber solo, encircled by steel lockers and the faint drone of air systems. My fingers quivered while unveiling Dossier 317, Engagement Glacier Inlet, Overseer Fleet Leader Kalen Hayes. My inhalation faltered. This was the endeavor that claimed Michael Hayes, the individual I'd extricated from the freeze cycles prior. The official narrative, atmospheric alerts noted, proceeded accordingly. Yet, in the primary transcript appended below, a subtle mark indicated an erased entry. Aviator demanded halt. Leader vetoed. The environment grew sparse. His kin hadn't succumbed to nature's fury. He'd fallen to a choice Kalen evaded accountability for. Every slight, each barrier of superiority abruptly clarified. He'd been chastising all flyers thereafter, unable to confront his own reflection. The entrance groaned. I pivoted. Madam. Arya Thompson lingered, eyes widened. What brings you? Pursuing facts. Discovery means termination. So be it. She paused, raised her device, captured the sheet digitally. Should you stumble, this endures. Come daybreak, security summoned me. A stern examiner leaned in. You breached confidential materials sans authorization. I examined my personal chronicle. He sneered. It was never yours. Then it dawned. This transcended Kalen's fault. It was an apparatus designed to enter phantoms. That evening, my communicator activated. Cease probing, Harriet. Kalen's timbre grated via distortion. Certain gales aren't for dissipation, and select figures aren't destined for divinity, I retorted pre-disconnection. I retrieved the compact case from my attire, restoring my dad's circlet to my digit. Exactitude equals esteem, he'd professed. This eve, exactitude entailed proclaiming verity. Upon re-entering my workspace past midnight, the compartment stood vacant. All remnants of Dossier 317 vanished. Solely a memo rested atop. You ventured too deeply, Reaper. For the initial instant since the straight gale, the chill I sensed originated not from elements, but from Revelation's core. A pair of days onward, I occupied the detention space, provisionally barred pending inquiry. The ambiance reeked of documents and alloy. The portal swung, and Kalen entered. Illumination aged him, diminished his stature subtly. You uncovered the dossier, he uttered softly. You eradicated it. I safeguarded the remnants of this detachment. Incorrect, I countered. You shielded your ego. He confronted my stare. Believe you're solitary in nocturnal hauntings? No, I responded. Yet I'm unique in responding. He sighed, rose, deposited a compact drive on the surface. Activate this air dismantling me. Upon initiation, interference saturated the area. Then Michael's timbre, weak and fragmented. Seek cessation. Kalen's override, denied, advance per plan. followed by hush, save a murmur scarcely perceptible. Inform my sibling the operator executed flawlessly. Moisture obscured the display. Kaelin had preserved that capture for nearly a decade, not to veil remorse, but incapable of enduring the compassion in his kin's concluding phrase. Subsequently, Ramirez contacted, "You unearthed it, correct? The actuality." "No, the absolution." He was accurate. What I'd exposed wasn't Kaelin's offense, it was his scar. Drafting my conclusive summary, I paused at the proposals segment. The indicator pulsed, anticipating verdict. I could insist on retribution or proffer instruction. My dad's maxim resonated. Navigation isn't evading disturbances, it's sustaining equilibrium till they dissipate. I inscribed, "Suggest relocation to Command Morality Education." Shortly post-submission, a response from superiors. "Reaper 0, proceed to Capital. Your attendance mandated at Tribunal." I perused the alias deliberately. Reaper 0. Initially, it lacked bite. It no longer signified demise. It embodied persistence. Externally, rotorcraft boomed across the coastal expanse, their outlines gliding over the strip like apparitions at last directed. Arya aligned with me on the landing zone. "What's next?" I observed the skyline ignite in warmth. "Now," I affirmed, securing my headgear, "we confront an alternate disturbance." The dusk hues reflected on my shield, a faint azure akin to Frost Barrier's glaze, origin of it all. The dawn breeze in the capital bore a crisp edge of nascent fall, keen enough to invigorate the breath. Within the unified Maritime Oversight Tribunal chamber, harsh overhead beams illuminated the expansive timber surface, rendering countenances ashen and exact. I occupied the testimony seat, the identifier plaque proclaiming Reaper 0. Opposite sat Fleet Leader Kaelin Hayes, palms immobile, gaze vacant. The quietude weighed denser than adjudication. "Overseer Vaughn," the panel delegate intoned, "detail your conclusions." I unveiled the compilation. My delivery remained firm. Page by page unfolded like deliberate incisions. Monitoring intel manipulated. Hazard notices disregarded. The flyer petitioned withdrawal. I elevated my view. That mandate was nullified. Immobility prevailed. I sealed the binder. Dual lives terminated. One via nature's wrath, the other via authoritative hubris. Both merit candid commemoration. A seat graded. Kaelin arose unsolicited. "She's correct." The assembly petrified. I negated that withdrawal. My kin was among them. "I've tormented the firmament since." His inflection wavered marginally. "And her." I sustained contact. Guidance absent responsibility erodes confidence swifter than any upheaval. A dazed stillness persisted as I resumed. "I advocate no dismissal. Propose repositioning." Murmurs surged. "He requires no penalty. He needs to impart failure's visage to avert recurrence." A score of minutes hence, the ruling. Kaelin reduced in rank. I elevated to Director of Unified Elite Aerial Preparation. No ovation ensued, merely quietude, the variety conveying esteem. Beyond, he lingered in the passage. "You weren't obligated." "Indeed I was," I declared. "Someone must instruct the Gale on closure." He assented singly. Two warriors, formerly adversaries tethered by shades, proceeded into illumination along divergent paths. A cycle onward, the atmosphere at the elite preparation site in Coronado shimmered with marine essence and radiance. Lines of crisp attire occupied the viewing area for the debut completion of the revamped curriculum. Authority amid adversity. I positioned rearward, sans regalia this occasion, merely a somber maritime jacket and the serenity of one who'd concluded their conflicts. On platform, Kaelin Hayes advanced to the lectern, his locks silvered at the sides, his timbre subdued yet fortified. "In my youth," he commenced, "I equated oversight with volume. Then I encountered an individual who directed via restraint. She required no volume for audibility. He directed toward me, vision resolute. Her designation is Harriet Vaughn. You term her Reaper Zero. Yet what she harvested was insight. Acclamation built gradually, then erupted. The venue ascended uniformly. Initially, it resonated genuine, not for mythos, but for wisdom. Post-event, he neared, proffering a secured packet. Within, an aged missive, parchment softened by duration. To my rescuer that eve, should tomorrow claim me, convey to my sibling I glimpsed paradise. Composed of frost and blades, inscribed, Michael Hayes. Moisture smudged the pigment. I ascended view. He pardoned you foremost. You merely needed reception. And yourself? Kaelin queried. I ceased ire upon comprehending your motive. No clasp occurred. Unnecessary. Pardon suspended amid us, intangible and buoyant, akin to the medium sustaining a rotorcraft aloft. As I traversed the grounds, Aria Thompson approached briskly, her beam vivid against the glare. Madam, advancement secured. They attribute your summary to curriculum shifts. Splendid, I beamed. Instruct attentiveness preceding guidance. Aloft, a formation of rotorcraft cleaved the expanse, fragmenting daylight into luminous strands. 3 rotations hence, the capital rested beneath a temperate aureate firmament. The stone edifices captured illumination like ancient reminiscences, refined, grave, inflexible. I'd withdrawn from service a while when the summons reached from the National Aviation Heritage Center, unsung guardians of the heights. The atrium radiated under the translucent vault, the ambiance vibrant with subdued veneration. Elevated above the dais hung my vessel, Reaper Zero, refurbished entirely, resplendent beneath mellow golden beams. Its propellers extended broad like immobilized appendages, mirroring radiance across the buffed base. Beneath, incised in copper, Reaper Zero, enigmatic savior of frost barrier. The overseer invoked my title, yet I scarcely registered. My focus lingered on the apparatus, the contraption that once thundered amid glaze and barrages. Epochs had transmuted its blemishes to luster, its ferocity to repose. A gentle tone pierced the buzz. Ms. Vaughn? I rotated to behold a youthful lady clutching a tattered hidebound ledger to her torso. I'm Sophia Hayes. My parent desired you receive this. The volume warmed my palms despite the ambient cool. On the terminal leaf, penned in Kaelin's irregular hand, she guided me to descend elegantly. Inform her the disturbance at last dispersed. I grinned. The sort emerging solely when sorrow mellows. He navigated by conviction ultimately, I breathed. Sophia lingered, appending. He petitioned the subsequent rotorcraft variant bear your alias. Authorities sanctioned it. RZ02. I gazed upward via the translucent canopy. Externally, a fresh rotorcraft traversed the horizon, daylight sparkling on its structure like molten treasure. The orb commenced descent, cascading ochre glow upon my features. I contemplated the departed and those perpetuating their legacies amid the vapors. They dubbed me Reaper Zero, I intoned, timbre steadfast. Yet my sole aspiration was repatriating souls, including those who once yearned for my failure. Aloft, Reaper Zero ensnared the waning brilliance. No more metallic drab, but the hue of tranquility.